flexibility in these machines to move resources around is great. So you can turn some CPU off in this partition, turn some on that partition, no problem. You've got ICAP. It's a really strong tool.
So you can go from a CPU that's enabled temporarily, and you can say, we want that full time.
Yep.
And then you can go the other way too. Say, we bought too much, let's turn them off and make them ICAP.
That's probably harder.
It's always easy to give the vendor more money than to give them less.
Yeah, it's hard for us to give it back. So, yes, but if you've got ICAP and you find you're turning it on a temporary basis, on a regular basis, you can purchase this thing outright and say, I'm going to turn it on or leave it on. And that's really easy to do. If you buy too much, most people would buy less and turn it on as they need it. Because you've got the flexibility with TICAP, I can turn it on and I can purchase when I want. So I always lowball it at the start. And if I've got those ICAPs, it gives me flexibility. As I said, if we're talking NPAR, so I've got two partitions electrically isolated, and I want to move resources, I can turn a CPU off here, I can turn one on there. I've effectively moved the resource without physically moving the resource. Really strong in that way.
There's multiple offerings that we can provide you in our instant capacity. So you have, the original offering that we had was you have standby processors, and you don't take title to those. There's you pay a right to use fee, almost like in sports analogy, like a personal seat license, right? But you don't actually buy the season ticket. You just have the right to whenever you want. So the ICAP had the standby processor, and then if you hit a peak time, at that point you turned it on, and then you took title to it, and you owned it forevermore. But we did get comments from customers saying we'd like something that's a little more flexible, so we introduced temporary instant capacity, which we call, in shorthand terms, TICAP, that allows you to buy, a certain number of computing minutes, if you will, and you can say, I want to buy this chunk of time, almost like a phone card, right? You buy minutes on a phone card, you get to use it, and then it runs out, and if you want to buy more, you can then go add minutes to it later. So you're not buying a 2-year service contract, right, on your typical phone here in the US. So you buy it for the time that you want to use it, which is good for development projects, those kind of things. You use it for you want, and then you can turn it off and turn it on, depending on, until you use up your allocation of computing minutes. So that's temporary instant capacity. Then we had other customers who said, I'd like to be able to move the license between a pool of servers, not just run it on a single box. So then we came up with another variant called Global Instant Capacity, which is GICAP. So it allows you to move that license around, turn off a processor in one machine, turn it on another machine, and so you can then have the flexibility to move it around in your data center. So there's 3 different instant capacity offerings that we offer up to customers.
Basically, have pay-per-use too.
Oh yeah, and then there's almost a traditional financing kind of approach, which we call pay-per-use.
Pay-per-use is a different model, which is where you actually lease the machine. And thereby what we will do is actually monitor the use over a month, so we can be turning resources on and off, and the bill at the end of the month reflects the actual utilization of the resource. So there's a couple of ways you can even do that. It can either be a percentage, we've just had everything on, we charge a percentage use, or we can actually have things being turned on and off dynamically and charge it for the CPU enabled. So we use those tools. They're very robust. They're used a lot of, I've got customers who use them a lot. And I really have seen customers get themselves out of a hole. They've had a business peak, they weren't expecting, they've been able to turn resources on, they've been able to place an order for another cell board because they want to keep that resource behind them. Keep that spare headroom. It makes life a lot easier for them. Then when it comes back, we can bring it back, and I won't go into that today. But we also take tools like this, we even integrate them to third-party products. Things like Oracle. Do a lot of work with Oracle to get the recovery time. Here it took us less than a minute to get back. If I'd shown you this sort of demonstration 2 or 3 years ago, that probably would have been more like 30 minutes to get that back. HP did a lot of work with Oracle to actually get a much faster recovery time, to get the rollback faster. We also work with people like SAP, to where if it's an SAP environment, SAP is aware it has a service guard back in. So if the database, for instance, disappears, SAP doesn't abort, it just leaves the hourglass there and we'll keep retrying because it knows the database will come back and continue. It is aware, it's integrated, and it's fully tested and certified. Again, integrated by design, by HP and SAP, so that you, the customer, can just use that. You know, purchase that option, use it with your SAP environment, and know that this is actually something you don't have to develop. So does it work? Well, I'm just conscious of time here, but some of the things we talked about, some of the VSC things, partitioning. Hey, if I want to stack these applications now, we're talking here HP UX, because it's got the capability of all the iCapitals, because the operating system can handle dynamic changes in CPU, memory, all that stuff. A lot of operating systems can't. But if I want to stack multiple applications in there, what's the impact on that partition, or that overall server? Well, in the past what we would do is guess. Oh, I think I can take that, and I think I can put this. But what we have is a tool called Capacity Advisor that allows me to actually capture what the utilization has looked like over a period of time. Then you get things like what we call new maths. So here is the 8 CPU system, the second 8 CPU system, but if I actually stack them, I can say with certainty that this will actually run in 12 CPUs. So the new maths, 8 plus 8 equals 12. There's the ability to come down and actually know that this is going to work, that my peaks on this one actually don't line up with that one that often, so my total resource required is less. And it's that sort of tool that brings a lot of value to our customers, because now they can look at it and say, hey, I need to consolidate my servers. I'd actually like to put these together, but what's the impact? What resource do I need to make that work? And we can predict it. Let's look at a customer who did some of this. Their legacy environment, they had what they called OS4. Now, they had a bunch of OS, but they had 15 HP UX OSs, 15 versions, generations, patch levels, point levels, whatever. So they had a lot of sprawl there. And they had some application dependencies, which meant they had no disaster recovery. Now they had a compelling business requirement, because everybody used to say, IT actually put up a plan which said, hey, we want to standardize all this. We want to make IT's life a lot easier to support the business. The business said, we're too unique, you can't do that. We need our special environment. What happened one day, as happens often, the CEO was talking to the CIO and said, the other day I figured out that if we lose our IT, I go to jail. Can you assure me that IT can recover in the event of a failure? What do you think the CIO's answer was?
I think so.
Because I'll get back to you. Let me check. Went back to his team and sort of said, if we lost this data center, how long could we be in our backup data center? It would be hours, minutes, and was horrified by the stony silence of his team. Walking at the floor, don't look at me. He sort of got up, sort of days, weeks. Somebody said, well, maybe a month. We could probably do it in a month. And I was like, we'll be out of business by then. Yeah, we'll all be out of a job. CEO will be in jail, we'll be out of a job. So the CIO was rather concerned about this and said, well, what do we do? And somebody said, well, hey, we put up that plan to standardize everything. Because one of the problems was, application interdependencies. They actually weren't sure how they're running, because application A required application B to be up, application B required C, C required A. How do I get A up before, if that needs B up, which needs... So they're sort of up and running, but they really didn't know how. And they said, well, if we did the standardization project, we at the same time can implement disaster